welcome back to my channel. Oh my gosh, has it been a journey, but we're finally here, and today I'm going to talk about how to get your British citizenship. So I'm going to split this video into a couple of parts. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the basics and just an overview of the whole citizenship process. Next, I'm going to talk about the Life in the UK test. After that, the English test, which may not be relevant to everyone applying. Next, I'm going to talk about the biometrics appointment. And after that, to finish it off, I'll talk about the citizenship ceremony. And throughout this whole video, I'm going to add my experiences as well as a lot of information that's already on the Gov site and a bunch of other sites that I've just collected. So it's gonna be a long one, so grab a cup of tea or something and get ready. Some basics. I've got my iPad here with a lot of notes, and I've got my laptop over there with a bunch of pages open, just in case I forget something and wanna just quickly have a look and make sure I'm saying the right thing. So just a bit of background to start off. I have lived in the UK for nearly 11 years now, and I finally got around to applying for the British citizenship. So since the UK has left the EU, I was classed as someone with indefinite leave to remain, or ILR, or someone with a settled status. Hello, just editing me popping in. So this indefinite leave to remain thing, I think it deserves an explanation. So this basically meant that before Brexit, I have lived here for 5 years, so I could get a settled status, which means that I can leave the country as many times as I want and I can still come back. So people who have not been here for 5 years before Brexit, they could have applied, some people have applied for pre-settled status, which meant they had like a lot more restrictions in terms of leaving the country and coming back. And also, as far as I heard, that is more of like a temporary thing. So if you have pre-settled, you need to apply for settled, or in a certain amount of time you can get like kicked out of the country, as far as I heard. So basically I had settled status, and for me this meant every time I applied for a job, I had to prove my right to work in the UK, and that meant going on this government website where my settled status was there in like an account, and I had to ask for a share code, which I then had to provide to the employer where I applied to work with my date of birth. And then they had like their own website to check the share code with my date of birth to see if I have the right to work in the UK. So this was basically the main reason why I wanted to get my British citizenship, because getting a share code every time for every employer, it became really annoying, especially when I went to the interview and then the share code proceeded to be invalid and I had to, get a new one on the website. It just became really annoying. And what I found was, when I was applying for jobs, a lot of employers, I know they can't say it that, we'll reject you because, you have right to work through this, but I could feel that I was losing out on opportunities because of this barrier. And supposedly I do have like the right to work, or I did have with the settled status, but I felt it was a barrier because the employers made it feel like it was a barrier. And also, if I rented out a house, so when I rented out my accommodation, I needed to prove my right to live in the UK, my right for like a tenancy. That was also getting a share code, blah blah. And I don't know what else. They can ask you anywhere to like prove your right to be here. And it was through this share code and date of birth thing, and I did not enjoy it. So that was basically my main reason for wanting to move forward with the citizenship application. And you know, it did cost a lot in the end, whereas the share code was free. But I feel like it's going to be more beneficial for my future. Anyway, let me get you back to the video. My experience and everything I'm going to talk about today is from the point of view of someone with indefinite leave to remain. From that to neutralization, which is getting the British citizenship. So the requirements here that I'm just gonna list from the website is having lived in the UK for over 5 years and having had the settled status for 12 months at least. And some of the requirements is knowledge of English, so that is grade B1 or above, an approved qualification from an approved test centre, or a degree in taught or researched English. And then the Life in the UK test, having passed the Life in the UK test, an intent to continue living in the UK, and lastly, to be of good character, which I'll get more into in a bit. Okay, so starting with the cost breakdown. I was very surprised today when I looked on the website to find out the cost of the citizenship has actually gone up by like £250. My cost for the citizenship, £1,330. The Life in the UK test was £50, and the English test was £150, which altogether came to be £1,530. So the new costs, as of today, October, is £1,580 for the citizenship application, £50 for the Life in the UK test, and £150 for the English test. So altogether, the new cost is £1,780. So I'm very happy I applied earlier this year because I would not have been able to afford any higher than what I already paid. So some extra costs I wanted to add in here was, for me, a bunch of train rides. So all the places I needed to go for the test, all the tests and the biometrics appointment, this was all in different cities to where I live. So I had to travel all across the northwest, I guess. I don't have like an exact figure for that, but travel costs as a whole, just don't forget that. And also I needed passport photos, which for me was £10.99 because I got it done in like, you know, one of those photo shops where they like, where you sit down and they take a picture. Yeah, I got it done there, and I guess that was more expensive than sitting in like a cubicle, but my town didn't have any cubicles around that were working, so I just had to go to the shop. Other basic facts. So once you go through the whole process that I'm gonna break down in a bit, and you submit your application fully, it takes around 6 months to get a decision. For me, I submitted it around June, so I was hopeful that I was gonna get a decision this year, and I actually got a decision back in September or August. I can't remember now, but I felt like it was very quick. But I do know since like COVID, there are a lot of delays and it's not very quick for everyone. Some people wait more than 6 months, which is unfortunate. And then once you have your decision, if you got the citizenship, you have a citizenship ceremony which you have to attend, and that is of no extra cost unless you wish to do it on your own instead of a group. And I can't remember the exact number for if you want to pay extra for that, but I did the group one, which was completely fine, and I'll get to that later. And lastly, the final cost that there is once you actually got your citizenship and you have your certificate, you need to further apply for a British passport. So you don't just like get a British passport straight away. You have to apply for that separately, and you have to pay extra for that too, which is a bit unfortunate, but that's £82.50 as of current times. I have not done that application yet, but hopefully in the next months. Also, something I saw noted on the website is once you have your British citizenship, you're not allowed to travel into the UK without your British passport. So you have to have a British passport if you like travel back and forth. Or there's like a certain form you have to fill out, and yeah, it just means if you're like a dual nationality person, which I am right now, I'm not allowed to use my Hungarian passport to enter the UK anymore. I'll have to use like a British passport or a certain form to prove that I am a citizen, basically. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the Life in the UK test. This is probably the biggest part of the application, I would say. The application itself, I would say, is less stressful. So the Life in the UK test, it is 45 minutes and 24 questions based on these Life in the UK test books that you need to read and memorize and learn. And yeah, you get a bunch of questions on it. The questions are, some of them are multiple choice, some of them are true or false, but all of them, I think, is that you don't have to type anything yourself. It's just memorizing things and choosing your answer, which in a way seems pretty straightforward. But for me, it was very stressful, even though I've been doing GCSEs, A-levels with the same concept. I found it a bit stressful. So I did GCSE history in the UK, which is what British kids do here in high school, right? Not everyone, but some of them. And in GCSE history, we learned less than what was in the Life in the UK books about British history. So in the Life in the UK books, it started from like the Stone Age going up to now, which was a lot more in depth and a lot more of a timeline than what we did back in high school, which to me was a bit mind-blowing. Like, why do I need to know this when even the British kids don't know it? But I understand it's nice to, know British history so well. Yeah, there was also not just history, but also about British values, community, how the systems work here, so law, order, about different courts, and yeah, it was a bunch of knowledge that you just have to get through. And something else. So you read the books, you get the knowledge, and you need to practice. I practice so much. There is like a paid app that you can practice on, but there are also lots of free websites with free Life in the UK tests that you can just take and go for it. And I personally went for the free ones. I had the books because my mum bought it a long time ago. Um, so I had the books, which I was very fortunate to have. If I would have had it, that would have cost me more money. But I was fortunate to already have the books. But the app and the practice tests, I googled it and just went on the free ones online. I will leave links down below of the ones I used. I thought they were pretty good, and somehow I ended up passing my Life in the UK test. My test experience itself, I went to the test centre in Manchester, and oh my gosh, it was strict. It was worse than GCSEs because they like searched you through metal detectors. You had to pull up your hair to show you've got no like ear devices that people tell you the answers through, and they like checked my passport, ID, everything. And then you go into a room where there's like a lot of computers and a lot of people, and it's silent, and they take you to a computer. But once you get to the computer, it's fine. It's the part before that's like the scariest, because it's like they search you through. And yeah, but once you... Oh, I also had to put all my like stuff in a locker. So if I had a bag, a coat, you have to put it in a locker. You're not allowed to take it with you into the test area, which I guess is fair enough. Once you sit down, the test is right in front of you. You just click through the questions. I personally can't remember how long it took for me, but it did not take the 45 minutes. I finished pretty quickly. I know I did not get every answer right, but there's a certain threshold that you have to reach. Let me look that up. Yeah, so your score has to be 75% or more to pass, and somehow I reached that. And with this, you get it says you get your like it says you get your score straight away, or like you don't get told your score, you just know if you passed or failed. For me, I didn't get told at the test centre. They just said you'll get an email in a few minutes. So when I like went out of like the test centre building, that's when I saw I got an email and it said you passed. Another thing I wanted to add in here about the Life in the UK test. So there's no like different grades you get, it's just pass or fail. And if you fail, you have to pay again to retake it. And it's recommended that you take like, I think it's like a number of weeks between each test, so you can like practice more. It's not like compulsory, but you are recommended to take a certain number of weeks before you try again. And as I've said, you have to pay £50 every time you take it. So this was a big thing for me, like if I don't pass, I have to pay for another £50. So I was very, very happy when I got my email that I passed. Okay, moving on to the English test. So if I waited with my application until I finished my undergraduate degree, it supposedly would have been enough to prove my knowledge of English. So because I haven't finished my degree just yet, I had to take an English test to prove my knowledge of English. And so this had to be a grade B1 or above, and this had to be from an approved test centre. So I booked mine with Trinity College London, but they're based in like Preston. So I booked it and I got a document emailed to me, which is like a preparation document. So here it talks about the exam. The exam is 10 minutes and it's split into two parts, the topic phase and the conversation phase. So I had to take this piece of paper with me, had to choose a topic that we were going to talk about. So the first part of the exam is talking about the topic that you choose. And then the second part is where the examiner chooses two topics to talk about. When I heard that it's going to be at a test centre, I imagined it as, I go into a room with one person and we're going to talk face to face. Turns out that's not how things go these days. I went in and there was like a waiting area. I didn't really get searched through, but I did have to put my stuff in a locker. And then when I got called into like the exam room, there was an iPad set up where the examiner was like in a Zoom call with me. Um and it said everywhere, and like I got told like don't touch the iPad, like that's fine as it is, just leave it alone. You just have to talk like there was a person in the room, which was to me a bit strange, but it went fine. So I chose the topic of the British education system as my topic to talk about because I felt I was able to talk about that having been through it. And then the lady chose I think she chose maybe recent personal experiences in music. I remember music, but I can't remember what the first topic was. But basically we just had a chat. That's all it was. It wasn't like difficult at all. I didn't find it difficult. I feel like this B1 test, it's like just basic English. Yeah, I personally didn't find it difficult. I don't think there was any vocabulary that was used that, like made it difficult. With this, you get your result in, you get a provisional result in 24 hours, and then they confirm your result in 7 days. Yeah, so you get a digital certificate emailed to you, and the results you can get is pass with distinction, pass with merit, pass, and fail. So I got pass with distinction, which to be honest, I expected it because, as I said, I felt fine talking to the lady. But as I said, to me it felt like really basic English. So even if you speak a bit below basic English, you can still pass with merit or just normal pass instead of, failing. So yes, it cost a lot, but I think it's an easy pass, if you know what I mean. Okay, then moving on to the actual application. So I completed the application online, and you can actually do it by post as well, I'm pretty sure. But I did it online because it just seemed like the more straightforward way for me. Also, if you do it by post, there's like the postage cost and printing out stuff that might cost you something, I don't know, but I did it online. um it was I thought it was pretty straightforward. I got a guide document with it, and it basically like talks through each of the sections and questions, tells you nearly everything about the application, to be honest. Actual application, you can't, well, you can start it, but you're not allowed to fully hand it in until you have got your English test and you've passed your life in the UK. So without those two, you can't like submit it. So the only part in the application where I got a bit frustrated, you could say, was the part where it asked for 2 referees. So remember before when I mentioned that you need to be of good character? You have to prove it with 2 referees. Okay, so both of them have to be a British passport holder, so British citizens, and one of them has to be a professional person. So a professional person can mean a teacher, doctor, health visitor, social worker for children, or someone of a professional, I don't know, status. I used, one of my referees was a retired nurse manager, so I think she was classed as a professional person, but I'm not really sure. The other one was a childminder, so I guess I don't know which one was the professional person. I think both, but they accepted them, so that's all that matters for me. Yeah, so I guess with these referees, you can't really apply until you've got this referees, and you know they have to like provide their consent and details to, you know, actually get you to apply. Just make sure you know 2 people of who meet these requirements, because for me, when I first saw it, I kind of freaked out. Like, obviously I know a lot of people having, you know, grown up here, and I could have gone and asked a bunch of teachers from my high school, but for a moment I just had a freeze of like, oh my god, I'm not gonna get this application done because of these 2 referees. Okay, so once you did your English test, did your life in the UK, and you submitted your application, that's when you need to have a biometrics appointment, and this needs to be booked in a certain number of weeks after you submit your application. I cannot remember how many weeks. I can't find how long after you apply you have to like do this appointment by, but basically as soon as you submitted your application, you need to book an appointment for your biometrics. So this is with a place called UK Visa and Citizenship Application Services. That's a mouthful. UK VCAS basically. And this is like a whole separate website to all these other websites you already applied on. And for this, you need your fingerprints and also all your supporting documents for your application. So, you submitted your application, you've got this appointment. You booked the appointment, I booked it in Manchester, and you're on this website that you booked the appointment on, and you can upload a bunch of documents. The best thing to do is have all your documents ready, either in PDF or a Word, so you can upload it straight away. So you need your 2 documents from your referees, which they have to like sign and fill in and all that. You need your life in the UK test result, and you need your English test result. And you also need to prove that you've been living in the UK for 5 years. So I had to download all my bank statements from the past 5 years and upload it, which was a long process, but in the end it was worth it. So if you don't upload any documents, when you go to the appointment, you have to pay extra for them to do it there. So this biometrics appointment is free. if you don't ask for any of the extra services. So I've got a list of extra services here that I'm just going to quickly list. Document scanning, document check-in, proof of attendance, text service, interpretation, document translation, and a lot more. But basically each of these is an extra cost. And the proof of attendance and the text message service, those two are £2 each. And that's basically that you attended the appointment as like a proof for yourself. I personally did not get any of the paid services, but I can see how that could be useful because you don't get any of like a confirmation that you've gone to the appointment. So I see how that can be useful. But with the other ones, the document scanning, document check-in, document translation, all those are like over £50 each. And that to me is mind-blowing. So you could upload it all yourself prior to the appointment and pay nothing, or you can take all your paper documents with you, but you have to have everything right there. So say you need to prove your 5 years, you need to have all your bank statements printed out for them to scan it and check it. And you're paying extra for that. So to me, that feels like a waste of money, but I get how for some people it can be useful. I didn't use that. I just went, got my fingerprints done, also took pictures of me, and that's basically it. It was quite a quick appointment. They didn't check any of the documents I uploaded because I didn't pay extra for them to check the documents, which again I was a bit worried about, like, did I upload the right documents? Maybe I should pay for them to check. But if you follow all the guidelines they give you, and there's a lot of guidelines, all these websites have so much information on them. If you follow every single one of them correctly, you're gonna get the documents right, and it's gonna be okay. When you submitted your application, it doesn't actually submit fully. So when you go to this UK VCAS appointment, your biometrics appointment, that's when they submit it for you fully. So they ask you there, like once you got all your fingerprints taken and stuff, they ask you, should we submit it now? Or do you have any other documents you want to upload? And I've done all the document loading prior, so I just said, it's okay, you can submit it. So they submitted it right away, straight there, and I got an email straight away saying it's being submitted and you've got like 6 months till you get a decision. So you need to attend your appointment for that too, because if you don't attend that appointment, that application is going to be like invalid and it's not going to go anywhere. And as I've said, it is a free appointment if you don't ask for any of the extra services. So it's definitely not worth skipping it over and losing everything else that you've already done. It's really like the final step of it all. And then comes the waiting time, which, as I've said, is 6 months, less, more, it depends. You really can't put a label on it other than what the website says, which is 6 months. And then you get a decision. So you get a decision of you being accepted as a citizen or you being rejected. And I got accepted. So I got an email from the Home Office in September to say that I've got a citizenship ceremony invitation that my application has been approved and now I need to attend the ceremony. So I actually got the email from Lancashire County Council prior to my Home Office email, and they got in touch of, your application has been approved, congrats, you need to book a ceremony with us. So your citizenship ceremony, you need to book with your local council. If they don't get in touch like they did with me, you need to get in touch with them like as soon as possible, basically, after you receive your decision. So I attended in County Hall, Preston, just a few days ago. So I had to be there for 10:30 and it was supposed to finish around 12:30, which it was pretty on time. And when you think like, oh my god, it's 2 hours, what's gonna happen? It wasn't that bad. It was really just a celebration and very chill compared to all the application process you've already gone through. So I went to County Hall. They checked my documents, so I had to take a photo ID with me, and they showed me my certificate. And they said, can you check your name and date of birth and everything, that it's okay. And then I got a little booklet which went into, so this is personalised for Lancashire County Council. It said a warm welcome from the leader of the council, another little message from the Lord Lieutenant of Lancashire. I don't know who these people are, but basically a warm welcome from everyone. And then we get to your citizenship ceremony. So I got a little timetable here. So book-in procedure followed by refreshments. There were a lot of refreshments. There were coffees, teas, biscuits, everything just laid out. So as I said, it's really just a celebration. And then a welcome and opening address by the Deputy Superintendent Registrar, I don't know how you say that, an address by a representative of His Majesty the King, the ceremony itself, and then a presentation by His Majesty's representative. I think my person just did that in one. And then the national anthem, congratulations and closing address, and an opportunity for photographs. So when you see it written down, it's really straightforward. We had the refreshments and then we got led into this room. On one side, they sat people who were going to say the Oath of Allegiance, and on the other side, the Affirmation of Allegiance. So the first one is, I'm going to read it out because this is so much fun. So the Oath of Allegiance is, I, your name, swear by Almighty God that on becoming a British citizen, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, his heirs and successors according to law. So with this one, it has Almighty God in it, so I guess it's a more Christian religious kind of vibe. And with the affirmations of allegiance, you say, I, your name, do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that on becoming a British citizen, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, his heirs, successors, according to law. So when I saw this in the email, I was like, oh my god, I have to stand up in front of everyone and say this myself. No. That's not how it went. So as I said, we got split into the two groups, and all we had to do on our own was say I and our name, and that's it. So that's all we had to do on our own. All the rest of the allegiance pledge things was said in a group. So the what's the lady called? Deputy Superintendent Registrar. She was saying it line by line for us, and we had to repeat it line by line, but it was as a group. So it was a lot less scary than I expected it to be. So once the oath and the affirmation was done, both groups together had to say the citizenship pledge, again line by line with the lady. And that is, I will give my loyalty to the United Kingdom and respect its rights and freedoms. I will uphold its democratic values. I will observe its laws faithfully and fulfill my duties and obligations as a British citizen. Again, a mouthful, but we said it like line by line, so it was really simple. And then we've got the national anthem in here as well. And the lady at the start said, it's not compulsory to sing along. You have it in here in case you want to, but you don't have to. So I personally didn't, because I was just too nervous standing there. So I just kind of listened along. But some people did sing along to the national anthem. And that's it with the booklet. So after that, after the anthem was done, we got called one by one to shake hands with His Majesty's representative, and he was the one who gave us the certificate. And then we had to go to a desk where we got it put in a booklet, whatever this is called, a holder thing. Yeah, so I got the certificate there. And this also has some information. So I've got this, which is basically explaining how to apply for a British passport. I have this, which is basically some extra information if you're like a dual nationality individual or just some other people. And I also got this, which is a message from the Home Secretary. And yeah, that's all what was... I know it's not a booklet, but I feel like a little folder, this little folder. It's what was in the folder. And then my certificate got put in here, and I had to sign this big book where it like said my name, my address, and yeah, I had to sign it. I don't know what that was about, but it was pretty cool. And then I also got a little gift from Lancashire County Council. Each of us got a little thing. I'm sorry, I'm so bad at showing this. But it's basically a little coin to commemorate, what does it say? To commemorate your UK citizenship. So this is what I got in Lancashire. Obviously it's different. I assume it's different for every council, but I got this little gift. And yeah, that was basically the end of it. I wanted to say so much because the whole process was long and stressful sometimes, and I wanted to include so much information in this video. I just wanted to include so much information in this video to help other people, but I feel like I missed out so much. Even though I had like a clear structure to follow, I do hope I didn't miss out any key details. But yeah, and after like you got your certificate, you got your gift and the little folder, you go back and sit down, wait for everyone else to like, finish getting their certificate. So it is like one by one. and then at the end you all stand up again, you get like clapped at, you get celebrated, and then there's a chance for photographs, or at least that's how it was for us. Really hope I haven't missed anything out. I do really hope. And please do comment down below any questions you might have. As I've said, I have applied for an indefinite leave to remain kind of point of view. So if you were born in the UK, if you got married to a British citizen, that's kind of a different process. Also for under 18s, it's a bit different. And I'm not, you know, qualified to give advice on that. I mean, not qualified, you know what I mean. I based this off all of my personal experience, so yeah, I hope it helped someone, and I hope you enjoyed. Give it a like, subscribe, comment down below, and see you next time.